Hi, fellow traders. Well, Tuesday is in the books. Not the marks I wanted to make, but some days are going to be challenging. Some days things are just not going to work, and you have to be willing to admit that, cut it, and move on. And so today was one of those days. No big deal. It's going to be erased, washed out of my memory, and we're going to start fresh tomorrow. It's all about rinse and repeat, at this point. But I want to share something with you today. It's not what I wanted to talk about, but I had this mentor session with this guy. I've been talking to him for 5 or 6 years. Well, it's probably more than that, because the first time I chatted with him, we were both in Warrior Trading. And he reminded me of where the shift was, what changed in him that helped him become a successful trader. So I'm gonna kind of qualify that real quick before we move on. But you guys know I'm a practitioner. Okay, I'm not a theorist. I'm not gonna sit here and teach you guys theory and say, okay, this is the way it should work. You're going to see me practice what I preach. I'm a practitioner. I put my process and my beliefs into practice every day, right here in front of you, win, lose, or draw. And, because of that, I can tell you that if you have the desire, if you have the will, you can achieve the seemingly impossible. What you feel to believe to be impossible or unattainable, you can achieve it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say everybody or anybody can do it. It has to be a person that's willing to put in the work. And that's not for everybody. A lot of times we look for these this 3, 5, or 7 step process that somebody teaches, and to market what we do, sometimes we try to simplify it and put it in steps, but that's not what it's about. Okay, you could see the pyramid that I'm building, where I'm teaching you how to become a consistently profitable trader. It's not a 3, 5, or 7, or even 10 step process. It's a transforming process, and there are other elements that come in along the way, and everybody's different, so different things are going to come up. So you don't need that. You don't need a large account like some people think. You don't need a $5,000 computer or all these trick tools that you may think that's going to help you be successful. A specific computer does not translate into success. Specific monitors do not translate into success. I got people that ask me all the time, why don't you have these trick, whatever the hell these monitors are? I don't need that shit. I don't. I make money with what I got. And me buying that is not going to make me a more successful trader. So what the hell am I going to buy it for? You have to. You don't need all of that stuff. What you need is to be willing to work harder on yourself than you've ever worked before in your life. A lot of people, we have never been challenged to work on ourselves. It's always been something else, either something tangible or intangible or whatever, but not to work on ourselves. And in trading, it's about owning who we are as a trader. And I know I've shared this before about getting to know who your trading self, and that's very, very real. All right, you have to start taking ownership of your trading self. stop worrying about how others see you, or stop worrying about trying to put forth this image, so that you could be accepted or to gain attention or whatever. You have to be willing to confess your own weaknesses, your own challenges. There's power in that, because when you do that, it frees your mind of all of these burdens that you've been carrying. And it also allows you to focus on the truth. And that is, we need work. All right. That, and it's very, very important. What made me think about this is that several years ago, this guy, in a mentor session, he's like, look, I'm tired of this. I have to say this. And he's like, I'm not the trader you think I am. These trades I post and all of this, I'm not really taking them. I'm just posting whatever to make myself look good, like I know what I'm doing, to make myself feel better. He said, but that is not where I've been doing this for a couple of years, and I'm tired. This fake it till you make it stuff doesn't work with trading. And I'm like, the whole time I'm thinking to myself, I already know. Because if you've been through this journey and you're actually at a point where you're trading consistently, profitable, you're a successful trader, you can spot fake really quickly. When somebody's not on the level because you've been there, done that. But I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody and call somebody out. They have to confess it. That's where the healing takes place. So once he confessed that, and he became he became a very humble trader, this dude took off. He took off. And we talk maybe once every 2 or 3 months. He is 100% an independent trader. 100%. And it took, and he reminded me today that if he hadn't have done that, he wouldn't be where he is today. And that's what, I wanted to share with you guys. Look, you have to be able to humble yourself and confess that, because that's important. That is very important. You have to humble yourself and work on you. Own your trading self. Own up to everything that you need to do in order to get to where you want to be. All right, sorry for preaching, but I just felt the need to share that. I'm not going to go over all of this. I did in the video yesterday. So go back and look at the beginning. You'll be able to, I go over this step by step and what it is. But if you want to email me, you can, and I'll explain it to you. A rest day in the SPY, and look at what happens. Look at what came back into play again. This got adjusted back. The top of this channel got adjusted back down, and look at what we're running into. So now this is still bullish. We're still very much above the 5-day moving average. We are resting. Can we go sideways for a couple of days? Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with this. But, this is what we were talking about before. We could, the market makes these moves and then it rests. It'll make another move and it rests. Now, I wouldn't have expected it to rest today because this wasn't that significant of a move. But, that's fine. It's kind of par for the course right now. I was expecting another day of this. Typically we see 3 to 5 days before we start resting, but it just did it a little early. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. As long as we don't gap below the 5-day and we tend to hold this, we don't have any major issues, no major fallouts, I think we're gonna be fine. You know, the market recovered going into the close today and actually closed green. Or did it? No. Wait a minute. No, it didn't close green. I'm sorry. We're green now. It actually went green after the close. So we didn't close green, but we are green now. We're over yesterday's close price. Now, so I don't know if it's gonna stay that way throughout the rest of aftermarket and the rest of the night, but you know, I'll be keeping my eye on that. But it's really good that we saw the market come back. So this tells me that there is a chance that we can, move up. And we can make more moves up tomorrow. All right, so ZM. All right, before people start screaming at me talking about how you're going to short something that's down so much, you got to get that out of your mind. Just because a stock is down so much doesn't mean it can't keep going down. If there's room, it can keep going. And I proved that, I think, many times. So I don't subscribe to the theory that, you know, if something is down X amount of percent, it can't go down anymore. We know it can. Especially if we were trading the other way. If we bought it thinking it's not going to go down anymore, how many times has that happened? So we all know. Now, it did take out. I was expecting it to kind of hold this, and maybe we could trade this at the open. But it sold off and put in another bottom. And so, you know, at the open, coming into the open, look what it did. So I'm thinking, okay, let's let it digest, and we should be able to get a decent move down. It didn't get there, obviously. But when it sold off and we started to rip back up, I'm trying to bail out of this because I don't want to take it. I'm like, look, I can get back in it if it confirms. We all know that. But the order is just spinning. It's pending. It keeps saying it's pending. It's pending. It's pending. I can't put in another order. I can't do anything. So I'm like, I don't know whether I'm in, I'm out. I don't know. So it took about 15 minutes for me to get confirmation that I'm actually out of this thing. But what happens is, and this only happens a lot with TD. It doesn't happen with IB or anybody else that's connected to DOS. TD seems to not want to put any money in updating their server. So what happens, you know, TD is not a direct market access broker. It's not. But for me, I could give a shit whether it's direct market access or whatever, because I'm not trying to trade these lightning fast stocks. That's not what I'm trying to do. As long as when I try to get in at a certain price and I get in at that price, and when I make money, they pay me, I could care less what the hell they do with my orders. You know, they can route them to hell for all I care. It doesn't matter. As long as I get in and get out and get paid, that's all that matters. And they do a pretty good job of that. But sometimes the way it works is when you send an order through DOS, it goes through the TD server, it gets executed or rejected, But what it does, it get executed, and then the service sends back a confirmation, and that's when DOS shows you this is where you got in, at what price and what time, and all of that. Well, if the order goes in and they get nothing back, DOS platform is just going to sit in a loop because it's not receiving data back. And that's what happened. And so it wasn't receiving data back. And you could go look on your broker and see if your broker has actually closed a trade or opened a trade or whatever. But I couldn't even get on that because it kept saying, the server was down, or I couldn't connect. So it was a frustrating 15 minutes, but it did, go through. But when it gets executed outside of DOS and DOS doesn't get an update, it just sits there. Now eventually it'll disappear, but it's not going to show up on your chart. It's one of the bad things, the frustrating things about this is that if you execute, it's like if I execute a trade on Thinkorswim and it's not going to show up on my DOS platform. Or if I execute it on my DOS platform, it's not going to show up in Thinkorswim, but it'll show up at the broker. So if I log into my broker, I can see the trades. And the same thing with IB or Centerpoint or CMEG. If you execute outside of DOS, it's not going to show up in DOS. So that's what happened here. And it never did trigger another entry, so I never did try to get back in this. You can see it traded sideways. So, that was pretty much it for this stock. It did rest. It did drop below going into the close. But don't be surprised if you wake up tomorrow and we're around 275. Because it is possible this thing could keep going. It doesn't have to stop. My next trade was on PTON. Here's a 5-minute opening range high. I just waited until we cleared, or we were clearing this the 200 period moving average. So once we got through it, I got in again. I'm about 15 cents from where I can logically take profit, and the damn thing starts to wash out. So I bail out of it and sit back and wait to see if it's going to set up again. But Peloton, this is exactly what the hell it did yesterday. It did not trade worth the crap yesterday. It did the exact same thing today. But again, that doesn't mean that it's going to trade this way tomorrow. So I can't bring baggage in from today to trade tomorrow. So if this thing sets up tomorrow and it looks really good, I can't trade it based on what happened today. I have to trade it, because if I short shift this and it blows up, I can give up a whole lot of profit. But again, I didn't want to take this negative. It just reading the price action, and that was part of the plan. If this thing gives up, you bail out and wait to see if it's gonna actually work, and it didn't. The last trade I took, SQ. You can see SQ sold off big time. I was looking for it to get around 266. There was a linear regression channel down around 265.50. It's kind of what I was looking for. It didn't quite get there. You can see it just started to recover. I actually could have, if I was here, I would have gotten out when we reclaimed. We made a higher low here and we confirmed it. But I was at lunch and it was on autopilot, so it just stopped me out at my stop loss. So not the best of days. Not at all. So I'm down $368 with the ZM loss and SQ loss. I did make a couple bucks on PTON, but showing you the P&L will not work because it doesn't have the ZM loss on it. So that's not accurate. It's saying I'm down 200 and some dollars, but I'm not. I'm down, actually down $368.40. $368.41 is what I'm down for today. So I lost about half of what I made yesterday, but we've got 3 more days, and as long as I continue to manage my risk, I'm going to come out on top. And that's all that matters. So that's going to wrap it up for me today. I'm sorry I talked so long at the beginning, but it's just something I had to get off my chest. So you guys have a great night, a great evening, and I will catch you tomorrow.